Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel. And the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. I got lots of therapy once again for you. We've got a great recap for you once again. We received some pens. We're going to look at some paper. We're going to do some swatching. We're going to look at a bunch of pens, do some writing samples. I'm really in a good mood. I got to tell you, it's nice and warm here in my studios because the weather here in Montreal is absolutely awful. I've been talking about resuming my golf season, and I got to tell you, I just got in a couple of games. We just keep canceling. There's rain, it's cold. You know, playing golf, 5-6 degrees in the morning. It's not pleasant. There's no sun out. It's rainy, wet conditions. Not ideal, but it's a great time for some fountain pen therapy. So, folks, without any further ado, here is Fountain Pen Therapy's weekly recap for May the 25th, 2025. Buongiorno. Welcome back. So, first segment, as usual, what's new in the market? I gotta tell you, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong places, but, I'm looking at the usual suspects, and there's just nothing exciting. There's nothing that grabs my fancy or that looks like it's going to give me any fountain pen therapy. Other than Chinese pens. Is it just me? Maybe I'm just so fascinated by, our friends, that manufacture these Chinese pens that, and then maybe I'm being blinded. Maybe I'm just not being objective, but I just can't see anything really interesting coming out of anything. Esther Brooks got the same pen all the time. Leonardo's got the same pen with different resins, yes, but it's the same pen. And we'll get to Leonardo again. It's just not clear to me how, what nibs am I buying with that pen? They're not being very upfront, I've got to tell you. Delta's got some very interesting pens. But again, at a different price point. So, not everybody can afford $600 pens. The Italians have got a bunch of pens coming out. Scribo, Aurora, and it goes on and on and on. But not very affordable. There's a big difference between a $30 Chinese pen that writes beautifully and a €650, Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. So having said that, let's take a look at the Chinese market and see what even there it's slow. So here we go. So let me just go to my computer. First thing, this is a repetition. As you know, the Majon P140s come out now. I think in my last video I described it, or at one point I described it as the 139 demonstrator. But no, officially it's going to be the 140. The beautiful thing about it is I hope it has that same acrylic, demo acrylic that the Majon C5 has, which is just perfectly clear, along with gold trimming there, you see, and it's got that number 8 size nib. So I'm looking forward to receiving that. It should be coming in sometime soon. I repeat, but again, Wing Sung Yun Line 930. This is a good site because it gives you everything. It's got accessories. It's got the wrench. It's got all the different models with different colors and trimmings, including the new white model. And you can also buy the nibs. So, and is this 365? Let me just see who, I think 365 has a, yeah, it is 365-day stationary store. It's got really the best to offer, so to speak. Next. Well, these days I'm looking at, roller balls and gel pens and all the rest of it as alternatives. I saw this interesting offering for $7.49. I think I might order it just to see what comes out of it. So that's that one for those who are interested in non-traditional fountain pens. One thing that I got to mention is that on AliExpress, you should be careful because, or not be attentive, because sometimes they offer pens like Pilot, classic Pilot pens, the real thing. You're not talking about Chinese knockoffs here, at very good prices. For example, here is the original Pilot Custom 74 with that 14 karat gold nib, offered in various colors and acrylics at $143 Canadian. That is a great, great price, folks. And sometimes they have different Pilot custom or Pilot products that are worth taking a look at. So I thought I'd mention. Next, here we go. Momento Zero. The new Momento Zero Grandes are being offered by our friends at Leonardo. Here they are. There's this ocean sunrise. Beautiful. Oh, let me just right here. You see it? There it is. Beautiful, beautiful acrylic. $606 with a number 8 nib. Not dollars, euros. 446, 450 euros with that gold number 6 nib. And $250, $245 or 245 euros for the steel nib. Now, when I click on the number 6 nib, I want a gold number. It doesn't tell me, is it the La Fenice nib or is it just a Yowo nib? When I take a look at the description here, extra fine, medium, broad, 1.1, EF, and F, that sounds to me like it's the Yowo series of nibs, steel nibs or gold nibs with the branding. Am I interested in buying a Yowo gold nib? No, I'm really not. Not at 500 euros, which is Canadian $750. It's the same bloody pen. It's got different acrylic, but I wish I would know what I'm buying, and it's just not clear anywhere. Now let's just go back and see if the number 8 nib is being again, this is the new one. This is called the Primary Manipulation 1 Vesuvius. Okay, so let's take a look at the number 8 size nib. Now here I see EF, F, medium, broad is already out, and 1.1. If I click on more details, will it give me what kind of a nib I'm buying? No. So what am I buying? Am I buying the Henhouse La Fenice nib? Or am I buying just another Yowo nib? Or a Bach for all I know? I have no idea what I'm buying. And I just, I have not been able to find a clear answer to that. So, it's making me stay away from some very interesting pens by Leonardo. So having said that, what's next? Oh, my friends at Stilo and Stile, they have this interesting Navlor. I know a lot of people like Navlor. I'm not a great fan because their nibs are not great, but Navlor Nautilus, how much? It's an updated design. I really like that gold trimmed one. For 122 euros, I might go for it. I really might go for it. So one is offered in that bronze-ish trimming, and the other one is in a ruthenium finish. What else have I got? Ferris wheel. This is Pen Chalet. advertising 3 bottles or 3 different inks from Ferris Wheel. What I find interesting is not necessarily the inks. They may be, but it's the bottle. Have they finally gone? This is a 20 milliliter bottle, so it's not a small one, but it looks like it's got a big opening, and it's kind of a bottle that sits and doesn't. It's not those crazy bottles that they normally sell, which are completely unusable. So I might actually go for these 3 inks just to see what the bottle looks like. Next, Goulet Pens has got some great stuff on their website. Look at this. It's got the Edison Stardust. It's an Edison Collier exclusive to Goulet. Beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. It's got this Fabalone Abalone Franklin Christoph exclusive, which is interesting. I think that Franklin Christoph is starting to get into the different resins. The Forever inks. I'm still hesitating. I don't like Forever inks because they're permanent and they screw up my pens and are hard to wash. He's got a bunch of Mioras that have come out. He's got the new Viscontis that have come out. Okay, these are the Sailor. Sailor comes up with the same pen with different designs. Then you've got a bunch of Delta. You've got Pennider here. You've got the Magna Carta 500 and 600. And take a look at this. They have this Laban pens, which look really, really nice. So they kind of put together some very nice packages there. So I invite you to take a look at Goulet Pens. There may be something there of interest. What else have I got for you? That's it. Oh, yes. Colotino fountain pen. This is kind of a little bit of a rave now on a lot of reviewers. Most of them have received the pen, and so they're reviewing a pen they got for free. But having said that, it looks like an interesting fountain pen that comes in different materials, including aluminum, brass. I think there's a copper, there's acrylic. So, and Goulet Pens has them all for $150 US. So if you're interested in that pen, that may be of interest to you. We're going to be looking at one of the reviewers that reviewed this Colotino pen, and I'll point that out in my YouTube review segment later on in this recap. So there you have it for what's new in the market, folks. In terms of inks, not much. There's those new Leonardo Officina Italiana inks, but I think they're the same inks, just a different bottle. And there's a new Edelstein, Pelican Edelstein 2025. It's kind of an orange ink there. That may be of interest. I'm waiting for my Canadian retailers to have it so that I can order it, because if I order it from an American site, by the time I pay customs and sales tax and delivery, it costs more than the bottle. And if I just want one bottle, it just makes no sense. So I'm waiting for either Loyens or lay wines, something like, or law wines, something like that, Wonder Pens or Blesket to have it. So there you have for that. So that's it for me for now, for this segment. So stay tuned for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're up for the next segment. What have I got for you? Well, it's what do I have for you in the Fountain Pen Therapy studios? We'll start, first of all, we'll take a look at paper. We'll do some swatching on that paper, compare it to Tomoe River, which is, for me, my baseline. And then we'll take a look at a bunch of pens or writing instruments and some accessories that I purchased in the last couple of weeks that I thought I'd share with you. So let's go to my overhead camera and let's begin with what paper do I have to propose for you today or for this week. Here it is. You see here, there's a notebook. Now, this is very unique paper. First of all, I bought this on at an Etsy site by the name of the Onion Skin Journal. Here you have it. theonionskinjournal.com. Wonderful lady who was interviewed by Hemingway Jones, I believe, and that's where it triggered my interest, and I decided to encourage encourage the channel and the in fact the boutique, and to buy onion skin paper. And here it is. Now, I have not used this notebook very much, and I'm not sure why, but it occurred to me that we would do some swatching on this just to see how it looks, and then also some writing, and compare it to Tomoe River, just as thin, if not thinner. The notebook is very, very well built, put together, and you can see it really stands on its own. Obviously, we're talking about onion skin paper, which is very, very thin. So we're not going to be expecting that you could use the other side. I think by definition, the other side is not going to be usable, but we're going to see whether or not it penetrates onto the next page. So we'll do some swatching. I'm curious to see how it all works out. And of course, you'll always have my Tomoe River as a baseline there. So it comes with this guide sheet as well, either with some dot grid or a line grid. So there you have it. That's going to be the paper that we're going to use. So we're going to put that aside for now. And we're just going to open up a page where we'll be doing the swatching. Here we go. Put that aside. And what are the inks that we're going to use? Well, here I've got 4 of them for you. They're these PENNONIA, is that the way you pronounce it? Yeah, PENNONIA inks. Now, you'll forgive me, blue is kind of one of my favorite colors, so I've got quite a few blues there, but they're different. All very different, and we'll compare them all. And I got 1 red, or one kind of a reddish color. So you can see I have a kind of a dark blue there, a lighter blue, and an even lighter blue there. So we're going to swatch these 4 inks and see how they all come out, and do some writing, and maybe even fill some of my pens with this ink. So here we go. What I propose, let me set up for the swatching, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're all set. Got my Tomoe River on the left side this time. Usually it's on my right, but it's going to be on my left. And we've got the onion skin paper there. Now, the tools that I use, for those who just joined us for the first times or don't remember, is I use this folded pen for the swatching. And then I use kind of different dip pens, almost every week to give you an idea of what's out there. Lately, we've been using this Kakamori brass nib, which is really nice because it holds a lot of ink, so you don't have to keep dipping every time. And this brass version, as opposed to the chrome version, is a little softer and a little bit smoother, I would say, than the other. But for this week, what we'll do is we'll keep using my folded pen for the swatching, but we're going to use this nib. Now, this is what's referred to, I have it here, it's the Okoro from Sailor. Now, as you can see, it doesn't have a feed. My experience with this nib is that it doesn't hold as much ink, so you have to kind of dip a little more often, but it's a 1.0, so it's kind of a stubbish nib. But I thought I'd show you what this Ochoro, is it? Or Okoro dip pen is like. So we'll use that. Okay, excellent. So let me just get one more cloth here, put it next to me, and we'll start with the this first blue. It's one of the dark, I would say it's black blue or blue black, and we'll see how this is reflected on the swatching. So we've got to be a little more, so we've got 4 inks to swatch, so we need a little more space. There we go. And okay, so, and now they've got kind of, I don't know if they're very strange names. So actually, let's start on here on this one. It's the PENNONIA not very smooth nib. Kind of gets stuck in the paper. And it's the Lila Arniek. And as you can see, you barely get I barely can get 2 or 3 words written, which is not great. But I think that if you're tempted to buy this dip nib, then you should know what you're getting yourself into. I'm going to dip it a little more here. Okay, this one. Wow, it goes on much smoother on this onion paper, I can tell you that. Lila Arniek. I might be regretting this. Yeah, I guess, I get it all. Okay, well, at least I managed to get fountain pen therapy in there. Okay, so that's the Lila Arniek. And folks, with your permission, I'm going to drop that and go back to my Kakamori. I thought I showed it to you anyway, but I don't want to tax your patience, and I certainly don't want to tax mine. And I sensed that I was beginning to get impatient. So, okay, so this is the PENNONIA, and I won't even try to pronounce that. But let's, you know what I want to do? Is maybe show you how this Kakamori swatches. Because you can also swatch with this. See? So with one pen, you can actually do both. Or with one instrument, I should say, you can do both. Now, this is the Kefani. Nice blue. Okay. Let me just dip it again because we're going to do the swatching on this onion skip paper. Isn't that wonderful? So with one instrument, depending on how big your swatch is, you can actually write and swatch. Yeah, this Kakamori nib is a very nice invention. Okay, so that's that blue. Very nice, deep blue. Always nice to have those colors. Okay, so, and I've got a feeling it's going to have a lot of red sheen, that last one. Because I just saw it on the cap. It's all over the cap. Okay, so let's see what this one gives. Okay, this is a darker blue, as it turns out, but not quite a blue-black. And the name is Kek Festo. Let me just dip again. Very pleasant to write on this onion skin paper, though, I can tell you that. So we said it's Kek Festo. And I'm going to spare you all the accents and on that name, but very nice. Wow. Writes really nice. I don't know when I'm not using this paper. I should be using it more often just because of the way the writing experience is wonderful on this paper. Even, I hate to say it, and you guys know how much of a fan I am of Tomoe River, even perhaps equivalent to, if not even nicer than the writing experience I get on Tomoe River. Okay, let's, oh, I dipped it too much. My apologies. I always have to make a mess, don't I? That's an interesting red. So that's PENNONIA. And what's the name of this one? Megius or Meggies? Let me just dip just a little bit. Wow, really nice. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Here we have it. 4 inks for you. PENNONIA inks. Beautiful inks. Let all this dry up, clean, wash my hands, and we'll be right back and we'll take a look at what it gives once these inks are dry. Okay, so the inks are dry, so let's see what it gives here. First of all, let's look at the Tomoe River and see what kind of results we have. Okay, the blue-black is really dark, but you could see the blue. And with all that black sheen, I like the cacophony or kekfeni because of that red sheen. Really nice. Lots of sheen there. And the darker blue is also very nice. Just a little bit of shading and a little bit of sheening. Just right. And this Meggies, it appears to be a lot more red, sharper red on the camera. It's a little more Bordeaux in real life, I would say to you. So that's a little bit misleading. As to the onion skin, just to show you what it looks like on the other side, as usual, typical Tomoe River. Definite ghosting, but very little bleed through, except for that black. That black is really dark. On the, here you see on the onion skin, you still get some sheening on the first one, on the blue-black. You've got a little bit less sheening on the lighter blue, the second one. And you've got some sheening, you can see it, some shading on the Kekfesto. And again, the red, it's the camera. It appears a lot sharper red than it actually is. It's more on the Bordeaux color, so more of a burgundy. What does it look like on the other side? I'm very curious. Well, just a little bit of bleed through there. Definitely you could see it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to write on this. I'm much more than pronounced, but that's the nature of the beast. But it doesn't, I mean, apart from this black one, which was really dark, just 2 little dots there. Apart from that, I think it's, you're stuck writing on one page, but it's a nice sensation, a very good writing experience, and we'll develop that a little more. I think I'm going to ink some of the pens I bought this week that I have to propose for you with some of those inks, and we'll do some writing on this paper, if you will. So that's it for the ink swatching. So what do we got for you in terms of writing instruments? We'll be right back. Okay, first pen I have for you. I was very curious by this name. I'm sure you guys who follow Chinese pens have seen this Kako, maybe even ordered a pen or two. This is the first Kako pen that I ordered. And I got to tell you, I was duped. Or perhaps I was just foolish and misread. Let's not blame anybody except myself. When you open this pen, or this box, isn't that beautiful? You take it out, if you can get it out of there. Okay. And then you start to wonder. You say, well, wait a minute. This is supposed to be titanium. The description says titanium. And then when you look at this, it's plastic. It's light. But when you read carefully, it's titanium finish, essentially. It's a titanium gray pen. So they're describing the color. And then if you look in the, see more kind of description, material used, you see it's plastic. And that's my fault. I was very taken and by the look of the pen and said, okay, this is another titanium pen. Given that titanium is kind of a la mode these days, I figured I ordered it. Very light pen. I frankly, I don't recommend it. The price I will post. I just don't recommend it. It's a comfortable pen. It's even lighter than a Safari. How does it write? It actually doesn't write that bad. So let's take out we'll do some writing on this onion skin journal. Maybe we'll do on both. But let's start there. Come on, Vince. There you go. So this is the Kako. And it's a titanium gray pen. That's the color. It's a fine number 5 steel. Little slippery here. That writes really nicely, I gotta tell you. Especially for a nice, smooth, with a hint of feedback. Nice feedback. Not scratchy feedback, but not sailor-like, but it's just a good feel, So the writing experience is not bad. It's okay. But the material, this thing is just, what a disappointment. It's basically a plastic pen. Lighter than Safari, lighter than a Twist, lighter than any other, startup pens that you can find. So it's just too bad because the nib is fabulous. But if you're a student looking for a starter pen, I forget what the price is. I'll put the price up, but if it's anything more than $20, it's a ripoff. I wouldn't buy it. So if it's anything, and I should, give me a second. Let me look at the price so I can comment intelligently. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. As you can see, it's $23.79 on AliExpress. Kako Sky Bifeng fountain pen, titanium gray, acrylic, bright tip. I don't know why. In all fairness to them, they talk about titanium. It struck me as titanium. I thought that maybe this gray one was titanium and the other one was acrylic. But in all fairness, if you see View More and you take a look at, where is it? In the description, the specifications, you'll see that material, plastic. So you know what? I can only blame myself. Oh, by the way, it's an extra fine. It's not even a fine. So, $20 these days doesn't get you very far. So for an extra fine nib, I would say to you, very nice. But, at roughly $24, no, I mean, you can get some Jinhows that are, cheaper. And frankly, I would prefer. How much will this pen last? I mean, it's got a very plasticky nib. Does have a converter, I believe, or did it have a, yeah, I think it has a converter. Very cheap one at that. I couldn't even fill the converter. Try slightly transparent, that grip. Grip does have a kind of a rectangular shape there. But anyway, enough of this pen. I would don't buy it, folks. I wouldn't recommend it. It's even the nib. It's just not worthwhile. Not worthwhile. It's too bad because it came in even in a nice box. Very nice, nicer than Majon anyway. But it is what it is. Okay, what else have we got? Well, I believe I mentioned in a previous recap, where is it? That I now participate whenever there are in these auctions by North American Pen Auctions. I invite you to take a look at their website. I don't know if they do this every month or every 2 or 3 months, but they have great auctions. Very fair price, nothing gimmicky. You have a chance to really bid live. They tell you what a bottom price is. You can bid for it and get in line, days and weeks ahead. And then the day of the auction, you actually, you bid live until you win or lose. So there you have it. It was the North American Pen Auction, the spring. So maybe it's just season, quarterly, so to speak. And what did I buy? Well, I bought 2 Schaefer pens. The first, they're both in boxes. So here you have 2 boxes, Schaefer. And I've been looking for lately Schaefer products. I've got my Imperial, which I must say I was not impressed. I was expecting a better writing experience. Where is it? Do I have it? Yeah. This is the Imperial. And maybe we'll put this right here. We can compare. So that was the Imperial I got last week. Now, why 2? I'll explain to you why. This was the first one, okay? And it's a Legacy. Very nice. All chrome finish, no gold. I bid for this, and frankly, when I was bidding, at the end, I thought I lost. So I moved on to the next one, and the very next one that was on the list, and you got to move quickly because if you lose the bids, then you might miss the pen. And the very next one was this one for the same price, but I had both a ballpoint, or I guess you can put roller ball in there as well, and the actual fountain pen. And I went for this one as well, and I bid this one, and I won. But afterwards, I realized, when I got the email, I realized I had won this one as well. So I ended up with 2 Legacies. Not something I really wanted, frankly. But, the price was good. North American Auction, it's the price you bid, plus they charge you a 24% administrative charge and shipping. And then there's sales tax, depending on where you live, etc. So these are the pens. Now, I'll show you right away this is the ballpoint. I don't have a refill that fits, so I'm going to have to order some Schaefer refills, and maybe I'll go to my local pen store and see if I can put rollerball in there. It's very nice. There is a little bit of a kind of just, the material it's got little black dots and stuff, but it's just the nature of the beast, I think. And then of course I've got the fountain pen, which is all gold trimmings. This actually came with a converter. The other one didn't, but I put in just a refill. What was that? It's still water from, I washed it before I inked it up, but I guess I didn't dry it properly. Nothing serious. This one here, I had an old cheap Schaefer with a cartridge. So I used the cartridge and it fit perfectly to ink this pen. Now, hopefully it does work because we'll do some writing with both of these pens on that onion skin paper. But it is my intention to do a thorough review and maybe compare it to the Imperial while I'm at it. But actually, let me take my Toma River as well, because I do want to see how these pens write. So this is Toma River. This one, I'm not sure the ink kind of penetrated right down to the nib because it's in the cartridge. But let's see. No, it did. Ah, I'm so happy. Is that the way you spell Schaefer? Forget now. A Legacy. 18 karat. This is the silver nib. Silver bicolor. Very nice. It looks like this is the medium. But very smooth. Very happy. Unlike the Imperial. Very, very nice. So that's this one. Let's see this gold chromed one, or gold trimmed one. This is maybe the broad. Yeah. I think it's broad, or it may even be medium. Very nice. I am very, very pleased. Which, just compared to this Imperial, which, you know, the reviews are that it gives you a nice writing experience, but not for me. First of all, I don't like the way it sits there. It slips all over. This is the, again, I apologize if I'm spelling Schaefer wrong. I got a feeling there's no C there, but look at this. It just slips in my hand. So I have to write with it without it. And this is the Imperial. And it's like writing in mud. And I also tried to smooth out the nib. It just doesn't, and I can't get it to be smooth. It's muddy. It's not to my satisfaction, really. But compared to the two Legacies, at the end of the day, folks, I'm really happy I got both. Gives me some variety. They're not as nice as the Legacy that our friend just noticed here, that this has maybe different generations of Legacy, or maybe no, that's it. Yeah, different generations. I don't know if Legacy 1, 2, or 3. They're not as nice as Hemingway Jones, has got a beautiful one. I think it's a silver, completely silver pen. Very nice. But let me tell you, we're going to do more writing. Obviously, we're going to do a detailed review of all these sometime very soon. After I find, and I'm going to also review this ballpoint or rollerball, depending on what I can put in there. But for the time being, félicitations, Vince. I think it was a good buy. I'm very happy. Very happy. There you have my pen deliveries for this week. I have more, but I'm just showing you these. Be right back with some accessories. Okay, for the accessory, I bought this from Galen Leather, and again, Vincent doesn't know how to shop. I loved it when I saw it. It has these beautiful two colors, so the pens don't rub. Very nice, and Galen Leather is always excellent products. The zipper is extra strength, except that there's no pens that fit in here are only small pens. Let me just give you an example. This is a Leonardo Momento Zero, not the Grande, just the regular size. And I got to tell you, it barely fits. Okay? Let me give you this Imperial, which is a small pen. Girth is not an issue. Just barely fits. Just to give you another sense, this Lamy 2000 barely fits. So it doesn't accommodate big pens. It does accommodate, for example, this Kaweco. So I would say to you, if you're looking at, pocket pens, this is the TWSBI Mini. Fits very nicely. Okay? Actually, let me put my X1, the Majon X1 that I just reviewed, which is, kind of a La Bohème Mont Blanc, fits very nicely. So it would be pens that are actually in between these two, and I'm not sure there's that many. The Momento Zero, by definition, is not a very big pen to begin with. What else have I got? Just to give you an idea, this is the Pilot ES95. Okay, so that would fit. Okay, what else have I got? I think some of the Sailors might fit nicely. So, for example, let me remove these. This is the Pro Gear Standard, fits nicely, and this is the 1911 Sailor Standard regular size. Those fit nicely. Now, let me just see if they close. Yeah, I would have, I think that, leathers will stretch. So there you have it. I mean, it's a nice, compact, very nice case that fits 6 pens. You just have to see what kind of pens fit. So, for example, could I fit my Mont Blanc 146 Le Grand? I don't think so. Maybe. Yeah, And then it stretches a little bit. Not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought. It won't fit my 149. This is the Sailor King of Pens. No, that won't fit. What about my 149? I doubt it. Yeah, well, it means that, you can do it. You can probably get away with it. You know what? Maybe it's not it just doesn't fit nicely. I don't know if you know what I mean. I have to because of that, tuck it in. But it's doable. I feel it right here, so you can't bump it into anything. Otherwise, you'll destroy the pen. Not ideal. So it's not as big. And, these Galen Leather products are not cheap. They ask for a meaningful price, but there you have it. That's the I guess that's the accessory that I have for you this week. Okay, so we're back for the next segment, and it's the weapons segment. We're going to take a look at my currently inked pens, what I had inked up for this week, the past week, and then I'll show you what I've got planned for next week. All right? Sounds right? Okay, so we'll go to my overhead camera, and I'll show you what I had to work with this week. It was a giant compromise. Okay, there you go. You'll remember, for those of you who saw the recap last week, that I decided to have the giant pen week. So I put into this, and this is the only rickshaw, it's a rickshaw roller kind of a case or pen sleeve. This is the only one that could accommodate these huge pens. I have the two Junlai Wing Song 930. I have the Mammoth number 9 from Canwright. And then I have a series of Rangas. I got the Ranga Model 5 and the Splendors, and even a Grande Abhimanyu, which is a little bit smaller, but they're all very big pens. Fit really nicely in this kind of a sleeve roll up, and you just rolled it up and put it in my bag, so it worked out really well. Now let's see how these pens write. So the first one is this, and I'm writing on this onion skip paper. So why don't we just close up a little more so you can get more of a sense of how this paper reacts. So this is the Junlai. Oh, there, I just noticed there's a little bit of a thread there on the nib. Okay, this is some material, probably from that pen case, but so this is the Junlai Wing Song 930, and this is the number 9 broad nib. And immediately you see that on this, it looks like it's feathering, but it's not. It's just the nature of the paper, and it makes the line all that much thicker and juicier, if you will, but extremely therapeutic, extremely, extremely, extremely smooth. Now let me just put the guide sheet underneath. Where is it? Here we go. As you can see, works out really nicely. So you can use that. It's not a wide-lined guide sheet, but that's the broad. Guys, I'm starting to like more and more this 930. And as you will see in my reviews, everybody is raving about it. Okay, very few are criticizing that pen. Reviewers, I mean. And people are starting to wake up to Chinese pens. Well, folks, as I can say to them, welcome to the club. A little late, but welcome. This is the Wing Sung Junlai 930 number 9 fine nib. So even the fine writes like a medium fine, if you will, but again, very smooth. Extremely smooth. Okay, next. The Mammoth. This nib is even bigger. I mean, number 9. This looks like a bullet. This is the Canwright Mammoth number 9. Beautiful. So if you can tolerate the fact that you can write on the other side, it's nice paper. I guess the best way to, proceed with onion skin paper would be to actually proceed with sheets as opposed to a notebook. Or unless you have a very particular use for the notebook, knowing full well that writing on the other side may not be on the cards. But I got to tell you, some Toma River paper, depending on the pen you use, it becomes a little more difficult to write on the other side. I do it anyway, but sometimes you hesitate. Okay, this is the Ranga Model 5 in this crushed ice. but it's got a number 6 Yowo nib, 1.1 stub. Again, the difference is that flare. With that flare, had the 930 have just a slight flare, wow. Okay, so that's the Ranga Model 5 crushed ice. This is the Ranga Model 5 mustard, I think they call it. Again, it's a number 6 Yowo, except that this is a 1.5 stub. And that's that Dominant Industry ink that I reviewed last week. If anybody's interested, take a look at my swatching last week. Very nice ink. This, I think they call it the Splendor Peak, if I'm not mistaken. So this again is the, oh, this one's having, I know I used it. Why is it not? Is this the one that without a, oh yeah, I used it so much that there's no more ink in here. Okay, so we'll forget about this one. Again, it's a 1.1, a 1.5 Yowo, so nothing spectacular. This is the nice Splendor with the number 8 Bach nib. Well, I know I used this one as well. Did I leave any ink in there? Maybe not. No. Sorry about that. I should have checked. I thought there was still some in there, but I guess there isn't. Okay, so you won't see my titanium nib being used, which is unfortunate. And then I've got my Abhimanyu Grande. I don't recall using this one, so this is the, yeah, Ranga Abba, and maybe there's an H there. Manu, I think that's the way you spell it, Grande. And this has got a number 6 Schmidt. Broad. That's the beauty of the Ranga pens. You can order them with either a box section, a Yowo section, or a Schmidt section, and they even have some with the Schaefer inlaid nibs, if you want. Not the legacy ones, but the imperial ones. So there you have it. That was the currently inked for the week of May 11th, or 12th, I should say, 2025. Yes, sir. Very nice. I love this paper. I love this paper. So we'll kind of clean up a little bit and we'll show you what we've got in store for next week. Stay tuned. Okay, so what are my weapons for next week? Well, what I decided to do is that next week will be pilot week. So except for one, I've got 11 pilot writing instruments, fountain pens actually, and then I got one Waterman ballpoint that I'll show you. So these are the pens that I'm going to bring with me next week and that I'll play around with during the week at home, at the office, etc., etc. Some of these pens are play around pens, frankly, more than office pens, but that's going to be the pens that I'm going to be using next week to have some fun when I need to, or to write with when I need to. Now, what I wanted to also show you is I reviewed this notebook, I believe it was last week. I bought this on AliExpress, and I've got to tell you folks, I am really, really impressed by this paper. And I thought I'd share that with you by writing on this paper with my weapons for next week. So why don't I, okay, yeah, that's good. That's a nice, okay, first of all, what have I got? Well, let's start from the obvious, which is this Pilot So this is the pilot week. Which is going to be May 20, well, I guess it would be 26th. The week starts anyway. So the first pen is this pilot. Whoa, it got stuck there. And it's got a kind of an italic stub. There you go. Very nice. So that's the pilot. It's unfortunate. These little pens are great. I've got, I think, every color that it comes in, but they dry up real quick. Real quick. Then I have my Pilot Kakuno. I don't think I've used this pen in the last 5 years. This is Pilot Kakuno. It's got a medium nib. Very nice. Pretty reliable. People like these cheap pens, you know. I don't blame them. This is actually a nice little pen. This is, again, I haven't used this in ages, but Pilot Prera. Again, it's a medium nib. Most enjoyable. Oh, the next one's a fun pen. This is a Pilot 76G Plus. Plastic, but it's got some interesting nibs. This is the Pilot 76G Plus, but it's got a double broad italic stub. You can see the line variation on that one. There you have it. There it is. Very interesting. A lot of fun. Actually, let me write fountain pen therapy with this. Very nice. I'm going to have some fun with that. That's the red pen. I got a couple of red pens there. Okay, now we're getting into the... Actually, before we get into the serious stuff, let's get into the less serious. We'll continue with the... This is... I love these pens. I've got many of them. Minis and the long ones. This is the Pilot Plumix. So this is a Pilot Plumix. And it's got an italic stub on it. And it's got a cartridge, one of the cartridges from Pilot, multicolored box of multicolored. I have a little box of multicolored cartridges, and I said to myself, I will never use this green until I use it. So I decided to ink this pen with that green. It's just not a color that I would normally use. Now we're moving up slowly but surely. This is the Pilot 95S. Yeah, now you're entering Evan. And what a radical difference. I think this is the medium. Beautiful pen. 14K. So, cannot compare. I haven't used this one in a while either. Just a few skips there, but that's me. Because the pen is smooth and thick and wet. Next, we'll go this way, because I think this one is cheaper than the next one. This is the Pilot Falcon. Not the FA nib, but the Falcon. Again, meant to flex, but really only for people who know what they're doing with this pen. And I'm not one of those. Okay, getting up there. This is my Pilot 74. So custom. Now we're into the Pilot Custom 74. And you might ask, what is that nib? This is the beautiful music nib. So you can tell that the line variation is just perfect. Really like this pen. $14K, of course. Is it $14K or $18K? $14K. Sorry about that, I couldn't see. Next, Pilot Custom 72 with the FA nib and with a ebonite feed. And as some of you may know, the 742 FA is softer and flexier than the 743. And this has got, I replaced the feed. It has an ebonite feed. What I like about these FA nibs is that for those of you who know what they're doing with flex, you can do it. And for those of you who just want to write, but with a flexy soft nib, you can write as well, which is great. This is the Pilot Custom soft, but not as soft as the 743, as 742. This is the 743 FA nib. Did I replace this with the ebonite? Yes. Ebonite feed that I purchased on FP Nibs, if I'm not mistaken. And again, very enjoyable writing experience. Very interesting feedback. It's like you're writing with a vintage flex nib, finally. Not as soft, but you get the idea. This, of course, is the pen of the century, which is the Pilot Custom A23. And I have a broad nib. Now, speaking of the A23, some of you may know that I was interviewed, or I participated in a video presented by Hemingway Jones on the A23, and I gave, a 30-second wrap-up of my opinion on this nib, on this pen, and it kind of attracted me to the pen again, and I said maybe I should get another nib, because the fun part about these Pilot pens, which I really wouldn't repeat with some of other brands, get the same pen, because the nibs are so special. I'm thinking about getting the A23, the demo version with the signature nib. So that's on my list. Okay, that's that. I think we've covered them all. The only last one is this. This is a Waterman ballpoint. So this will be my Waterman. And you go from a fountain pen to a ballpoint. And what a disappointment. But sometimes you need a ballpoint. So it's in the bag, so to speak, if I need it. So there you have it, folks. That is, or those are, my weapons for next week. Let me just refocus there, and that will be my shot for my B-roll. There you go. That's my next week's weapons. There you have it. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I wanted to do some Q&A, and I had prepared a segment based on one question from one viewer, which I found extremely interesting, but I just figured out that maybe I'll do a video on it rather than just do a segment in my recap, because there's so much to talk about. The question was very simple. Vincenzo, what pen would you recommend? What Chinese pen would you recommend that would write right out of the box? And I started thinking about it, and I started pulling out pens, and I've got pens from Asvine, Hongdian, Wing Sung Junlai, Majon, Admok. And I said to myself, you know, if I do this segment, it's going to take me half an hour. So I decided that, you know what, that's a good question for maybe a separate video. So for that viewer, stay tuned. I'm going to do a video, and I'm going to propose to you, because there's clearly not one pen. There's many different price points, and I think it's going to be a good video. So for that viewer, stay tuned. You'll get your answers soon enough. Okay? Excellent. Let's go to my next segment, which is YouTube reviews. Be right back. Okay, so for YouTube reviews, let's take a look at, first of all, some of the reviews that I happened to watch with particular interest, and that I thought I'd share with you. And the first one is this review or a YouTube video by Edison Pens, where the owner goes through, I think it's a recent addition to their pens, which is they're offering their pens now with Richard Binder 14 karat flex nibs, which is, for those of you into flex nibs, Edison is a great company. They make some great pens, different models, different shapes, different materials. And if you can, to boot, get rid of that ordinary Yowo nib, which most of his pens come with, and replace it with a Richard Binder grind, well, you know what? You may get yourself a little gem there. So that's something to look for. Next thing is just to show you how people are looking into Chinese pens, and how that Wing Sung Yunlai 930 is getting quite a bit of attention. Even SBR Brown likes that pen. So I invite you to take a look at his review. At the end, he talks about leaking, and because one of his viewers saw that it leaks a little bit, I don't think he's aware of the fact that Wing Sung Yunlong has come out with a solution to that. You can buy a separate nib section now with a corrected nib section, and what they've done is they've just put a light coating around the nib section that makes it a little bit wider, and just seals it up nicely. Inquiring Minds has also a solution as well. But having said that, hey, Mr. Professor Brown likes it. It means it's worth looking at. So for those of you who are skeptical, the 930 is a beautiful pen. A little uncomfortable, a little big. If you don't like big pens, stay away from it. Otherwise, great pen. Next thing, I'm into lately looking at videos about how to improve and practice your handwriting. I would love to be able to do what these guys do. And you have Shaq MD that just writes beautifully, okay? But a writing guy has got several videos on, handwriting and guides, and I think he even sells PDFs and guides that, for very little, that, gives you practice sheets and all the rest of it. So recommended. If you're interested in improving your handwriting, well, that's another video of interest. Next, my friend Teresa Harris, who I enjoy watching her videos all the time. She's a great fan of this channel, and it's reciprocal. Reviewed the C5, the Majon C5. In fact, that is one of my favorite pens. I got to tell you, I know some people hate it, because of its shape and etc. I think it's fabulous. So I won't spoil, the video. You can take a look at what Teresa has to say about that pen. But personally, I just love that pen. Having said that, the next video is, we mentioned the Colotino pens earlier on in the segment, my first segment in terms of new pens. You've got, what is it? Is it Tina or Time with Tata? Time with Tata did a review on a couple of Colotino pens. And so if you're interested and curious about those pens, I invite you to take a look at that video as well. In terms of my own videos, well, what we got? Well, we have the Majon X1, which I reviewed. So those of you who are interested, there you have it. And of course, my last week's recap. Again, take a look at the recap. It goes through many more things than just a weekly episode. It has reviews paper, it reviews inks, it reviews pens. So take a look at the timestamps, and there may be something there of interest for you, or even just my preliminary introductory video kind of give you a snapshot of what's in that recap. So I invite you to take a look at that if you have not had the chance to look at it. In terms of what's coming up, folks, I've got so many things, and I keep repeating. I just don't know what I'm going to be publishing. I'm expecting several Majon pens this week. If I get them all this weekend, then I will probably publish the Majon collection video by adding those that I've just recently acquired. Otherwise, I've got an Andean nib collection. It goes through all the Andean nibs and the different generation of nibs. I've got that Ranga that I still have to review. I've got the Radius Setimo, and I even have a Stipula Etruria to review. So there you have it. It's going to be a surprise. We'll see what comes to my mind for my next Wednesday video. Well, I'll decide the last minute as usual. So there you have my recap, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please, again, a lot of you watch, but you don't subscribe. I appreciate your viewing, but if you can subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. So press that button, like, ring the bell. Please subscribe. It will help the algorithm. And as Hemingway Jones would say, it helps keep the lights on. Grazie molto, ragazzi e ragazze. Thank you very much for your patronage, as they say. And I hope this has been helpful and entertaining. And we will see you this week, Wednesday.